Welcome everyone to our 8th TELx reoccurring meeting. Man, 8 of them already. Seems like these are going by pretty quickly. Love it though. So just do our little forward, and then we'll jump into kind of our agenda items. So yeah, welcome to the 8th reoccurring TELx meeting. These reoccurring meetings provide several critical functions to our governance. They provide transparency to our community. They create structure for our forum. They provide authors the ability to present their proposals to the council and community. They allow the councils and community to review, debate, and refine these proposals so that they can get to a place where we have a consensus and mutual understanding. They provide a medium for regular TELx ecosystem updates. They ensure consistent communication between council members and the community, and they allow the community to directly engage in Q&A with other council members. So the TELx Council is a local governance organization with authority over and duties towards TELx operational rules, systems, health, and social well-being. The overview is to accept, develop, and vote on TELx improvement protocols to change or introduce new elements to TELx, to alter TELx harvesting rules, and is responsible for generally representing the interests of and informing their constituency in matters pertaining to TELx. The duties of the TELx Council is 1, to plan, finance, and coordinate implementation of improvements to the TELx ecosystem. 2, regulate the flow of TEL issuance throughout TELx to be harvested by Liquidity miners. 3, introduce, alter, and enforces TELx operational rules, including harvesting, information and communication, maintenance, and construction. And 4, informs miners and activities and outcomes related to TELx and results from any snapshot votes. These snapshot votes are a requirement for all council members, and in order for a proposal to move forward, there needs to be a majority of 5 out of the 6, with all 6 members voting within 5 days from the start of it being posted to snapshot. So I'll just go through a quick agenda of today, and then we can do a quick recap of where things left off from last week. But today, really, I think we just want to finalize and make sure everybody's aligned before we kind of push a few things to snapshot. 3 of those TELx IPs being the Diversifying, Polygon, Liquidity to Uniswap, expanding to base network and reducing inefficiencies, and the creation of the TELx Council SAFE. I've got a little bit of an update too on costing from grants on TIE's single asset provision. And then we can kind of talk about the rest of the budgetary stuff too for some of these improvement protocols, along with my data and analytic kind of framework as well. So I'll open it up to the floor if anybody has any comments to get started. And if not, Ty, I don't know if I want to lean on you again for a recap. I don't know if you took notes again, but if somebody wants to jump in with a quick recap of last week.
Yeah, my notes are pretty scrappy. We talked a little bit about the website. We talked about the multi-sig for the SAFE, the operational wallet. We talked a lot about the proposals, Mike's proposals on liquidity pools, and I think that's really what constituted most of the discussion last week. Were these pools and what we should do with them. Just going through incentives. Yeah, that's unless anybody's got anything else, my notes are all kind of all over the place, to be honest. But yeah, I think that's maybe we have a better way of recapping the meetings, to be honest, because I don't personally, I don't like listening to my own voice on these recordings, so I very rarely listen to the recordings, which maybe I should if I'm going to be doing a recap. But maybe there's a better way of actually documenting what we discuss.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a chat bot or something that we can do to run through the video, but if not, I can try to take notes as we go. I think last week or last meeting too, I was in the car, so I wasn't really able to take any notes or anything like that. So I can have a notes section for today, and then just highlight some stuff that we're talking about. But okay. Mike, maybe let's start with you and just kind of go through your two proposals. Make sure everybody's aligned with the mechanics of how everything is going to operate, how we're going to be, allocating incentives, how often, and what are the mechanisms that we're going to have to use for that. And then I don't know if you've been in touch with Grant or anybody else at the TAO just to understand kind of timing and work required to get things going, and if we have rough idea on timelines. I know we've got to give the existing TELx pools for Balancer and DFX some notice. The loose terms that I think we were talking about was kind of April 1st last meeting. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to get it done before then, so maybe we're looking to maybe a little bit more into May. But Mike, I'll drop it off to you to see if there's any updates from that perspective.
No, I think that aligns well with what I've been finding. I've talked with Amir. So you posted about the front end work being about 20 hours of front end work to do the TELx website. The staking contract work is either going to take just a couple of hours, depending upon what Leo can find for the staking contract. If they can find one that's already audited, then we can use that. But if it needs
Mike,
to be created, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to clear. I was just looking at Grant's message, and he said for Mike's two TELx proposals, deprecating the two pools and updating the current TELx site is 20 hours.
Yes.
So it sounds like everything included in that. So I don't know if there's anything over and above that would be required, but.
Well, I don't think that's just really the front end work. That doesn't include the contract work, like the staking contract work, unless I'm missing something there. But
Okay.
maybe I am. But I feel like that was the way I read that was just sort of like website TELx website work, deprecating the pools and adding the other ones. And
it doesn't mention anything about V4 contracts or anything in that message from Grant, so you may be right. So probably a good idea to maybe let's follow up with him and get an understanding of timing and costing on that as well, and then I can add that into that budgetary file that I made.
Yeah, that sounds good. And so I think the proposal will push forward regardless of that. That'll just be a pending item. There's no really dependencies on that. We just have to figure out if we want to approve the proposal, knowing that there is a reasonable budgetary requirement to accomplish it. And then it could be as many as 12 hours, 15 hours to do the contract work if we have to redo it. Then we have to also pay for an audit, which would add some time and some cost. But if Leo is able to identify one that's already pre-audited, then we should be good to go there. Hopeful that'll be the case, and that it'll be a much swifter process. But that's still to be determined. I think hopefully we'll have that information before the end of this week. So I would like to just push forward both of those proposals as they stand for the council snapshot starting today, and then they would end on March 10th, and then we can go from there. What do you guys think?
I've just got one question, Mike. The staking contract work, does that include the distribution of rewards based on the fees?
Yes.
That's earned. So there is that consideration of when a position is in or out of range.
Yes, it would. So yeah, fees would basically solve for the in and out of range situation, because you don't get fees if you're out of range.
Yeah. So is it Amir that's giving you that? Like, I think you said 20 hours, was it, for the staking work?
No, I think he said it would be. Let me look here. He would say estimate 15 hours, but if we don't need to write the new staking contract and audit it, then it could be as little as 2. So, yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm not sure if there's a staking contract within the TEL system that exists with that mechanism for reward distribution. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would think it would need to be I'm assuming it would be a new one, so we would have to budget in an audit portion for the development time.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and I don't really understand that because my understanding is that Leo is looking for a suitable contract for TELx already in production with a different company. I don't even know what that means, but
okay.
I'll find out more on that. So yes, it could just be a reinvention, or creation of the staking contracts, and then doing the subsequent audit of those contracts.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think that's a major to hold up the process. I was just looking for clarity on the staking work versus the sort of website front end stuff. Yeah.
So those things are just sort of minor variables at this point to accomplish what would be the the proposal in its kind of current format.
Just an idea, as if it is 15 hours, it's going to be about $1,100 US, $1,125 to be exact.
Okay.
And
I think that's if we factor. Oh, you're talking about at $75 an hour.
Yeah, it's $75 an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if there's a difference in the hourly rate for blockchain engineering versus front-end engineering.
I think so, because when Grant was giving me some stuff, like looking at Ty's proposal, he put it at $100 an hour.
Yeah, and I think that would be more in line with what we could expect for blockchain sort of staking work.
Okay, so $1,500 maybe.
Yeah, 100, maybe even up to 125 or something. I don't know. But
okay. At current TEL price, that'd be about 175,000 TEL, just as an FYI.
Yeah. Okay. I think that.
Yep.
That it falls within expectations, I believe. I mean, at least in my mind, but I don't know. I could. So, yeah. What do you guys think?
I'm good. Push forward.
Okay.
Yeah, the development work's going to be done within the TAO. They've got the bandwidth for that because, they probably have quite a lot on at the moment. So even although it will take probably 40 hours worth of effort, they getting that slotted into their workload. Did they give any indication on when they could start the work? Or is it just when they've got capacity?
I think the estimate would be that it could be completed in a month. With putting it together. If we wanted to get it done quicker, we'd probably have to find some kind. And I think, honestly, going forward, either Telcoin has to expand its employee base to support the TAO work, or we need to find contractors that are then, we can employ from the association. I don't know. It's like we're kind of at this kind of discovery point in the process of how to best do this, make it most efficient, without taking away from product development from Telcoin, the company. So yeah. That's a variable that needs to be navigated, and we'll get there. We just have to figure out. Maybe this first project is taken on, and the realization comes to be that it's not being done as efficiently as the association wants or the TELx Council wants, and so we have to sort of figure out how to contract the work to get it done on more reasonable timelines. So those are all discussions we have to have.
I think we'll smooth through that process as we continue to move forward. I think the challenge here is that this is like the first proposal that includes, actual work that's going to cost, money and come from a budget. I think that's probably part of the problem too. But at the end of the day too, the TAO, essentially is there to, how Parker and I know Tim, like to describe it. We're the brain, they're the arms. So it should work somewhat fluently. But obviously with all the work that the current members of the TEL have on their plates as a part of TELcoin Holdings is probably a little bit of a conflict. But who knows how that progresses as we continue to move forward. But
Right.
Yeah, and I think, as I recall, Andrew, the discussions we had with Grant and Marcus initially when we're looking at these proposals development, I think we came to the conclusion that the TAO should manage any contractual work anyway. So we hand it over to the TAO, and then it's up to them to decide how best to get it done. In the
well,
agreed
they would facilitate the basically like the review process and to give us options and say, hey, we have the time to do it and we can do it at this rate, or we can outsource it to a third party. And here are, 3 options for third parties, and here are the rates and the costs. And then they would put that back in our court to then make the decision.
Well, if that's the case, we need to establish whether they can do it or not.
Yeah, looking from Grant's messages, what did he say? He said, we have enough talent to take care of the smart contract / blockchain interactions, but the front end work is going to be quite a lift. This is part of more of your update, Ty, on the single asset provision. But I think from, Mike's perspective too, in those proposals, along with Will's, I would assume that the TAO should be able to take care of those.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So it sounds like the back end work they can do. It's more the front end work that they need additional support on from third parties.
Yeah. We'll have to suck it and see, basically. Let's push on.
Okay. Mike, you know how to push these to Snapshot?
I just pushed one. I'm going to push the other one here in a minute.
Nice. Okay, good. Within the meeting. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. Okay. Is there any other questions on those 2 proposals? I think we're pretty clear on it. Obviously, deprecating BAL and DFX in favor of TEL, ETH V4, 1 on Polygon, 1 on Base. Everybody's in alignment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Let's do it.
just a period of notice, I think, to be fair to the existing miners that are in those pools.
Yeah, I think we got to wait, Ty, to understand the back end work, like the contract work, whether or not Leo can find a contract that is already pre-audited to what Mike mentioned earlier. Like if we can find something that we can use, like we're talking about 2 hours worth of work. If not, and we need an audit, we're talking 15 hours of work and the time to get it audited. So I think we have to wait until we have an understanding from that perspective on timing. And then once we know for sure, like, hey, everything is good to go, all right, let's push it to the next, rewards period, because it's every 30 days, essentially once a month. So I think whenever we have the official go, the green light from the contract and the audit perspective, then essentially we just give notice and it's going to get adjusted as per the next reward cycle.
Yeah.
I guess depending on time, if it's like 5 days from the next reward, then we'll push it out to, a further one. But we can make that decision based off of when we get that official green light.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I guess we're looking at the beginning of May then, because between voting for the proposal and then getting the team to know about the smart contracts, I don't think we can do it by April 1st. I think we'll have to wait for May 1st. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree that May 1st or whenever the next period reward cycle is in May is probably the earliest we can do it.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Okay, let's do it. The sooner the better.
Okay, well, does anybody oppose? Let's put it that way. I just don't want everybody yelling yes. Does anybody oppose to those 2? I know that, Mike, you already pushed them to Snapshot already, but I think we're all aligned anyway. Just wanted to open it up in case there's any other questions.
Yeah, no objections. Just, to manage expectations is definitely not going to be 2nd of April, is it? But no, all in favour, I think.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, don't worry, Tim. We'll go about this the right way and make sure everybody has ample enough time to withdraw liquidity if they need to from any of the pools that are being deprecated, and transfer them to some of the newer pools on Uniswap, or if they want to adjust some of their positions within the existing V2 on balancer. So, okay, good.
We've been on standby to help people out because some people have probably forgotten how to do this.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I'll make myself available to help people out if they want to look at V3, V4 stuff. Well, I guess technically just V4. But yeah, no, I'll make myself available. We can push some stuff out. I know, Tim, you kind of already started putting the links and all that kind of stuff together. So good on you for that. But in the meantime, again, we've got a little bit of time until May. If we want to put like a little bit of a quick guide together with some pictures and stuff like that, I'm sure we could.
So let's move on.
Cool. Okay. Next, creation of the TELx Council operational safe, or whatever we're going to call it. I think we're all in alignment there too. So is there any nays on that one or any questions regarding that? I know we kind of talked about, we got the 10 million for this year up until essentially December. And then moving forward into year 3 and beyond, it'll be basically 10% of what we're allocated. Will go towards that kind of operational safe for us to use for any over and above expenditures. So any nays or any particular questions? Going once, twice, 3 times. All right. Mike, would you are you able to push that one through to a snapshot as well, or do you need to be like the author of on the forum to do that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I just went onto this snapshot thing. I did one, and now I'm trying to figure out how to do the second one. Okay. I did this one. I actually had this other one loaded up like 2 weeks ago, and I just never hit the submit button. And so now I got to try to remember what my brain was thinking 2 weeks ago.
Sounds good. Okay. Okay. Well, while you're looking at that, let's move on. Ty, I'll give you the update from Grant on the single asset provision. So I'll just read verbatim what he told me. So for Ty's proposal, unfortunately, I'm still not sure. We've reached the conclusion that his proposal is something that the town needs to outsource, and we are in the process of filtering options. We have found 2 candidates so far, and we'll find the right partner in the next couple of weeks. Then we can get a quote for the single acquisition. We have enough talent to take care of the smart contract / blockchain interaction, but the front end work is going to be quite a lift. My best estimate is 4 to 6 weeks, but that's something we want to figure out with the contractor that we bring in. If Ty wants to get this done, we can move forward with roughly 240 hours at $100 an hour. But that's not a hard quote, and we could be over or under budget for what it really takes. I'm sorry I couldn't get any further information on this proposal this week. So a rough estimate is roughly, let's call it, $24,000. At current, that would be about 2.8 million TEL right now. So it would take up about 28% of our budget, just so you guys know.
Yikes. I'll make a statement here. And on reflection, I'm not sure if even I think that's worth it now for the benefit.
Well, the only way that I was thinking that it would be beneficial is if like we can create an API like plug and play. So I know how I brought up like the maybe potentially incentivizing GSMA members who are obviously in the financial sector to plug TELx into their applications. If we can create a simplified API for them to just plug into, then I think that has merit, where the cost might be worth it. Because if we can start getting, obviously, once we start getting validators and developers on the Telcoin network and everything is up and running, this is why I was thinking like it's a longer term kind of thought of like year 3 and beyond. But if we can get some of those, financial developers to plug TELx into their apps and have that, single asset kind of provision plugged into theirs as well, that will only benefit TELx in terms of, broader reach, assumption on higher TVL, higher volumes, higher fees, all that kind of stuff that we want to continue to push TELx, right? So if we can get to a point, I think, of where it's simplified, that it's more of a plug and play for those developers, then I think that costing makes sense. And probably where we would probably want to work with one of those developers first is obviously Telcoin Holdings to try to get TELx integrated into the Telcoin app. And if we can do that pretty seamlessly, and then it's kind of correlated to the adjustments that we need to do on the telx.network website, then I think it's all interconnected and that cost might be justifiable.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think when I first proposed and had the idea and I was percolating it in my mind, I was always thinking of the springboard to use it to make it easy for the app users to provide liquidity into the ecosystem. And I thought, well, a single asset provision would be a nice way forward and it makes it simple. But I think with everything that's going on and the introduction of the V3, V4 pools, I'm of the opinion now probably to make it easy, just put it on hold for the time being, because I think we need to see how the network comes on, how the evolution of TELx. I'd rather see that. If I had a choice, I'd rather see the money go towards improving the website and the educational aspect and the analytical aspect, rather than adding a piece of functionality that's a nice to have. That's how I view the single asset provision now, really, as a nice to have. And I think with everything that's going on, I'm happy to put this on hold for that level of spend. I'm having trouble justifying it myself in my mind. So
yeah, and as we know, like TELx is more for a seasoned crypto person, not necessarily a beginner, right? And the single asset provision would help more of the beginner side of things, in my opinion, too. But let's open it up to the floor. Tim, Mike, Will, Matt, you guys got any comments on this?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, spending 28% of our budget on this proposal seems a bit too much for me. And I guess we can implement it down the road next year when we get 10% of the allocation. And at this time, we'll have more, I hope, more dollar value from the TEL we get. So maybe it will be easier to budget it in the overall budget. But 28% is like way too much. And I think we wouldn't be able to do many other things with that we could do with that money.
Yeah. So I'm with Ty as well. Good idea. It's more that it's been kind of not been put out of date or obsolete or anything, but other things have caught up and taken over as far as priorities are concerned. And with such a fast, ever-changing technical thing that we're in, that's going to happen. But yeah, revisit another time. But at the moment, I think, as you say, more pressing things. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll keep it on the back burner. Mike and Matt, I don't know if you guys want to comment, but we could always put it on the back burner for now. And as we get into year 3, maybe it's something that we can continue to look at. And to Will's point, I was going to bring it up too, but if obviously the asset of TEL price goes up, then obviously the amount of TEL that we have to use for that would significantly go down too. So which again, hopefully would be the case for next year. But okay.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think it's just goes on the back burner at the minimum, and maybe it just lurks around in the shadows forever. Who knows? But I think it's a good idea, but just maybe not at the current moment. So, and while I have the mic, Will, I did just put that link in the comments on the side here to the snapshot. I think if you want to go on that, and then there's a button you hit to create a proposal for snapshot, and then you can copy paste your proposal in there. That way you can be the author. I think it's good since you wrote it up. I think it's good to have you to get the authorship of it rather than me just copying and pasting your proposal. So unless you want me to, I don't care either way.
Yeah, okay. I'll try to do it. Actually, I'm on my phone and I'm in front of my computer, so I'll try to manage it on the computer while I speak with you on my phone. So yeah, let's try and do it.
Yeah, good. It's a good learning process.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Any other questions, comments on that one, on ties? Everybody's good. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm fine. I was just agreeing. I'm fine with everybody's comments, and yeah, we'll put it on the way back burner, to be honest.
Okay. Okay, so then moving on to data and analytics, what Grant told me, so he said for a complete comprehensive Dune analytics would be around 40 hours at $75 per hour. So that's about $3,000, or at current prices, about 350,000 TEL. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about that? If everybody's okay, maybe we can push that to snapshot 2 to get the ball rolling on that as well. I haven't talked to Grant about timing of when we can do it. I think in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll put a full list together of kind of things I want to track. I did ask Marcus as well, just to see, as we were talking about kind of the TAN IP1 with the new issuance on a weekly basis for the TEL app, just to understand from like active liquidity perspective. Just because, Ty, like you mentioned too, that your full range and what you're doing. I know Mike, me, you, and I think Matt, we've all kind of got similar ranges and whatnot, but I'd be curious to see from an analytical perspective, like from like the mainnet pool, if there's 1 million, how much of that is, within range? Is there only 400,000 within range, or is there 800,000 within range? I'm like, I would personally like to see what that information is, but
I'm not on full. I'm on range.
Are you? Okay. I must have misread that then. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. All 4 positions are within a similar range to what you guys said. I posted my stats on the thread, so you maybe not had a chance to have a look at it. But yeah, no, all my positions are range bound.
Okay.
Yeah, those stats are interesting. I don't. That does expose a definite difference between like if the fourth one is V4 and the third one's V3, it's the exact same liquidity amount, same timing. I don't really understand why it's such a difference, but that is interesting.
On that, I've become quite addicted to these V3 pools and trying to really understand what's going on under the hood, and I've developed a spreadsheet that tracks. I can talk more about it offline if anybody's interested in taking a copy, and it's really quite easy. It takes a little bit of data input, but it gives you a good idea of exactly where in the range you are and how you're moving, whether you're coming from one extreme to the other, or you're in what I call a safe zone, which is in the middle. And so I can monitor that on a hour by hour basis if I want to. So
I want to learn that for sure.
Yeah, it's quite an effective tool, and it calculates the extrapolated APR over the year based on the rewards per hour, that you get. So it's quite detailed, and it's a really good tool for managing different positions. So I'm happy to share those sheets with council members if they want. to try and understand more what's going on. But there definitely is a variation. So there's something going on within Uniswap that's, because if you've got multiple positions, even on the Uniswap tab, you see fees rolling up in one and not necessarily the other, even although both positions are in range. It's quite interesting to watch in real time. So
Yeah.
So there is something going on. But anyway, it's all learning and it's all really exciting stuff. And the returns are huge, aren't they? 300, 400, 500% in some cases. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. You can kind of limit, like I gave that example of the one that I entered in 18 days ago, and it's essentially eliminated the 20% drawdown in the crypto markets by being in that concentrated pool over the past 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, and your one, Andrew, you're hitting 400 over 400% APR.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Like I said, again, we also had 2 pretty heavy volume days. Like looking over the last almost 24 hours, it's been negligible, the amount of fees. But again, everything is going to be correlated to the amount of volume going through those pools, and with stuff dropping and then swinging, down and up, 20%, and then back down another 15%. Like you're going to have huge, upticks in volume. I think I noticed one time I checked, when we had heavy volume, within the hour, I think that was almost like $50 in fees that I had accumulated just in that hour because of the amount of volume.
And that's on the Polygon chain, is it?
I basically got the same position on both mainnet and Poly.
What are your coins?
They're both TEL and wrapped ETH. TEL and wrapped ETH,
yeah. What I'm telling ETH on ETH, and it's quite they kind of move together a little bit over the last week anyway. So I've not been out of range much at all.
Yeah, no, I definitely follow the ETH chart now a little bit more to understand. So I try not to look at it, the other way around. I try to look at it on the appreciating side, that if TEL is doing better, it's going to, show that number. So I think with all the zeros, I don't know if it's 6 zeros, but the range I kind of have it in right now is from 32 to 48-ish.
But to Mike's point, the gains are offsetting any concern about impermanent loss.
Well, that's on a strictly USD value too, right? Because Mike, that's how you were looking at it. Whereas I'm looking at it from a little bit of a different perspective in terms of the amount of TEL that I was looking at. So too, but even from my perspective, there was a gain on it as well. Yeah,
it is interesting. You have to think about those positions just a little bit differently as sort of income generation positions. And that the LP value itself is what you're investing in. If it's $1,000, doesn't really matter what the 2 tokens are. If you look at it from a certain perspective, you just are trying to keep your pool in range. It's just a different tool to use, which I think allows for some flexibility. So it's pretty fun.
Yep, no, I would agree.
Andrew, so you're measuring your range in TEL to ETH. As a chart, do you know what it is from ETH to TEL?
Yeah, give me a sec and I can open it up.
It's some minuscule number. It's hard to, it doesn't even show up on Uniswap.
Yeah, no, but that's why I look at it on KuCoin now. So I've got it in a range. So it's TEL to ETH. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros and then 2 8. To 5 zeros after the decimal, 48. But when you look at it from the other perspective, that's what I posted in the chat. So it's TEL per wrapped ETH. The minimum price is 208,000 TEL per wrapped ETH to a max of 358 or so. But
yeah, those are all probably close to plus or minus 30%, right?
Sorry, say it again.
Those are pretty close to plus or minus 30%, I think.
Yeah, pretty close. Well, I can show the picture of where my ranges are in that in the TELxIP on KuCoin, because that's kind of how I'm tracking it now. Just to show you guys what I'm looking at. Give me a second, I can post it.
That's a pretty tight range.
Yeah, well, again, that's the beauty. You want to take the risk on a tighter range to generate more fees, or do you want a pretty broad range to have less risk but lower fees? Like if you look at it from a daily perspective, I've been in this range again when I set it since February 15th, really, when we peaked. So that's kind of how I've been looking at it, of the range that I want to keep it in. It's just what is like the local range that we have right now, and then I can adjust as things move.
So how often
if you look at it from the perspective of like TEL versus Ethereum, and you look at it over like a weekly chart, I mean, there's only a couple of days out of the year that TEL moves very dramatically versus Ethereum, and so it's the rest of those days you're usually pretty able to stay in range with it if it's within 30%.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably won't need to move it more than, I don't know, twice a month, maybe 4 times a month.
Well, again, it's hard to give you a prediction on how often it's going to move. It's all going to be dependent on how the assets move in relation to each other. Like if TEL goes in USD plus 15%, but so does ETH, then the TELxIP pool is not moving at all, right? So you don't really need to change it. It's only when they adjust contradictory to each other, right? So if TEL pops 15% and ETH goes down 5%, then that's where you're going to have that big difference in that range. In terms of what the correlated asset ratio is, right? So it's very similar in that aspect of like V2, that if, in permanent loss, if, even on the 80-20, if they both, appreciate at roughly the same rate over time from when you started to when you get out, there's essentially no impermanent loss.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's good to have that feedback so that people can prepare to go in and be prepared to what range they're going to set. It's, without just jumping in blind. It's good that someone like using there as a guinea pig, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah. And what we can do too, as part of like an education thing, is we could always host like a spaces as a TELx council too, and open it up to the community if they want to jump on and ask some questions. I know we could probably get people to or at least ask people to join here, but we've got 3 people here versus typically when we go on X or Twitter, we get a little bit more engagement. But
that's a good shout. And also, if I can add, an interesting strategy is when you have a tight range, if you go out of range because the price appreciates, as long as you are not away and you can act quickly, it costs you not that much to buy all your TEL back and create a new range. So if the amount of fees you make cover the little discrepancy between how much, at what price you sold your TEL and the new range you create, then the impermanent loss is minimal. So you just have to be active and follow your position and adjust it, and it's all good.
Exactly. We went off on a little bit of a tangent there. I just wanted to come back quickly and just make sure that everybody's good with the analytics proposal at 3,000 US essentially. If so, then I can push that to Snapshot as well, and we can kind of get moving on all 4 of the active TELx IPs.
Yeah, let's go. And by the way, mine is live as well.
Nice. Okay, I'll after the call, I'll push mine. If I have any trouble, Mike or Will, I might reach out. But
sure.
Well, you'll manage. That's very easy to do.
Right.
Don't worry, you'll be fine.
I know you can do it.
Sounds good. Okay, moving on. Maybe Mike, I know you mentioned mapping TEL to Arbitrum. You want to give us an update on kind of where things are at with that one?
Well, that's done. It's mapped. The token is on Arbitrum. There is exactly 100 TEL in circulating supply on Arbitrum for the past 7 days. It doesn't have any token update. That doesn't have the logo. Doesn't have any of that. We're not really pushing on that. We're not paying for priority like we did for base, so that we could get the proper service to get that done. Because I don't know. I mean, we're just sort of rolling into base. We don't want to spread too thin, but it is there. The token exists on Arbitrum, and we can do the exact same thing that we're doing with base or future networks, whatever. I think we have to sort of take our time, though. It gets kind of overwhelming if you start just spreading your liquidity out, and then you're moving all of your the more liquidity you're pulling from the Polygon ecosystem. Then we're also not maybe doing a disservice to our liquidity for our app users that are exchanging. So, but Arbitrum's live. It's available to us. Okay. Paul's really bullish on getting multiple, trying to get at least the token listed on multiple chains. He was talking about Binance Smart Chain and all that. And I was like, I don't know, maybe, but if there's a U.S. citizenship thing we have to think about and all the other stuff. But anyway, I get a little long-winded, as you know, but yeah, Arbiscan is got the TEL token. I'll show you the contract here.
Okay. Do we know if there's any active liquidity pools, or I guess because it just got mapped, I would assume not.
Yeah, there's 100 TEL on there that is just sitting there. So that's it.
That's okay. So, okay. So yeah, like you said, kind of food for thought for next kind of iterations of chains that we're looking at. Let's, to your point, walk before we run with that kind of stuff. So I'm okay with that. But again, cool in the background that again, when and if we do decide to incentivize liquidity on Arbitrum, then at least we've got a couple things already in motion and ready to go.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think we kind of talked about this other point I mentioned too about incentivizing GSMA members to integrate TELx into their apps. So again, I think that's kind of more of a year 3 thing, but let's just keep that on the back burner as well too. If we do have some funds available as part of our budget to try to incentivize that. But yeah, like I said, I think for me that's a year 3 and beyond kind of proposal. So okay.
Very exciting news today. PowerHive is a good friend of ours. Chris Horner is the CEO of PowerHive, and he's taking his equity financing on chain via Telcoin Network, and they got a GSMA membership, and they're going to be an active member of the Telcoin Association. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Agree. Yeah. No, that was exciting news to see. I don't think anybody was expecting that, especially coming out of NWC. So a lot of exciting things coming.
We might have Leonardo DiCaprio on one of these association meetings.
Yeah,
he's the face. He's the face
on the PowerHive cap table. Yeah.
There we go. Good stuff.
Can I just add one thing here about partnerships and the partnership with the game company? Has the GMRT token been released yet? Is that active on base?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at whether or not there's any need for liquidity into the TEL GMRT pool on base.
There is a TEL GMRT pool on base, yes. And you can swap.
Okay.
And there's one on mainnet, but the one on mainnet doesn't get much activity. It's all the swaps are on base right now.
Right.
Yeah. Well, volume wise, but you're talking about TEL, Mike?
I'm talking about the gamer tag token.
Yeah, but there's 2 V3 pools of GMRT TEL. I'm just looking at CoinGecko. So there's one on mainnet, one on base, and they're doing about the same 24-hour volume of about $8,000.
Yeah.
The bigger one is the GMRT wrapped ETH, which is doing about 72,000 in the last 24 hours. But the bigger volume is all on kind of centralized exchanges on MaxC and Gate.io.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know what to make of that. There was $70,000 in liquidity of swaps in the last 24 hours on base. On that.
Unless the information on CoinGecko is inaccurate, which is possible, but
yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. I have a hard time with some of these. Like when we have new tokens, Intel is still sort of in that bucket on some of these things, but like the data just doesn't. It's not represented properly. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to find on Uniswap. It's like it should be very easy to find on Uniswap, but it's not. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, we're kind of getting on a sidebar. I love talking about this stuff, but it's probably not like in the scope of the council meeting.
Probably not, but that's okay. Okay. Outside of that, Tim, you mentioned a couple things on education and stuff. The UI for the webpage, which I think we kind of talked about already. Outside of that, is there any other questions, comments, concerns, either from the council members or the members that we got here? Sammy, T Freeze, and Boo. If not, I think we can kind of just confirm we're good for the next one, and then kind of shut things down.
Yep.
Yeah, all good.
Something I'd like to just introduce to think about is that as it stands, we've got 4 proposals going to snapshot, 3 of which will require development costs. Should we be thinking about a policy of covering the USD costs by selling some of our TEL, or should we have a mechanism that we say, well, when a proposal is accepted, let's convert half of the TEL at the USD price just to protect against any inflation? I mean, in my mind, TEL should be appreciating rapidly, but that's not often the case in the market. And so I'm just wondering if we should be thinking about some sort of hedging process to try and protect ourselves against swings when we have to pay bills in USD.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I don't know how this is going to work too. Like once we push these forward, they're approved. Like, do we have to sign a contract with the TEL on a TELxIP to TELxIP basis? And is there going to be stipulation in the contract that says a percentage of the invoice needs to be paid within 15 days, 30 days, whatever? Like, I don't know what those details are going to be like. So I think maybe we try to get an understanding from that perspective of how that's going to work before we start selling any. But I agree, Ty, that we probably got to start thinking about how and when we kind of do that. But
yeah,
what's everybody else's thoughts on it?
I wonder if we can offer payment in TEL.
I'm sure we could. Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know. Like, if I was going to do the work, I wouldn't mind getting paid in TEL, and then I don't. If I don't need that money to pay my light bill, then I can just hold it. Rather than having to.
Yeah, I think just from that perspective, like we still have to give them the value in USD, and I think to what Ty is getting at, and this might be down the road when we're peak bull market and we're starting to think about budgets for next year and trying to hedge the downside. Is when do we sell some TEL into USDC to have it a little bit more stable, as opposed to having this 10 million TEL and then it goes to 10 cents. And then it goes back down to 1 cent. Like where are the targets where we plan on selling some of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and kind of an interesting, bigger picture question is: should the entire Treasury be in one single volatile asset, over time, or should the Treasury get diversified? So I don't know. It's it's a tough.
Well, yeah, in talking to Grant and everybody, like our budget is up to us to manage on how we do that. So
Yeah,
like if
you
we
can
want
convert
to,
it
if
all
we
to
want to hold,
USDC now, and then you'd have your budget for the year, or you could keep most of it in TEL, or could you buy even another asset if you you know.
I think essentially we could if we really wanted to. We have that ability to do that, and I think each council will have probably different ideas on how they're going to manage that. And I think as part of the decentralized, aspect of it is that the TELcoin Treasury Council doesn't necessarily want to dictate how that's going to work, specifically within like the different councils. So I think from their perspective, they kind of want to. Here's what your budget is, and you guys manage it as you see fit, kind of thing. And then their hands are clean, so to speak.
What if we participated in LPs, and then we had generating our own revenue?
Now you're getting into something I've thought about too.
Yeah, exactly. That I thought about it as well. Maybe we can add to a V4 pool and have a range, a very large range. So we will sell to TEL only little by little, and let's just make some revenue out of it. That would be a nice thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how the accounting works on all this stuff.
Food for thought. Definitely a good idea for us to be, leveraging and using our own ecosystem to benefit and prosper from it. That only speaks volumes, in my opinion, to cascading our vision and everything else to the broader community. Like if we're using it, then it speaks volumes everywhere else.
Walk the talk, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. So the good topic, Ty, to bring up.
And just another topic, if we're dealing with the TAU in terms of contracting work to them, is it feasible to get a fixed price quote? Because I know I've been involved in software development most of my career. I know how these initial budgets, initial quotes can move over time, and they hit problems, and very few people are willing to give a fixed price quote for software development. But if we could come to an understanding and make it range bound so that it will not exceed a maximum, then that gives us better control over our budgets. If we, under the contract of development that we have with the TAU, have some sort of understanding that there's a maximum amount of budget we're prepared to pay for the work, and they've got to deliver within that. So that's another thing to think about, how we approach that aspect, because software development never gets delivered under budget. It always over budget, in my opinion. So something else to think about, boys?
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting idea too. Like we could always structure the contract that based on timing, if they get it done, sooner, then maybe there's incentive for that, depending on if we want to do that, or, based on the estimate, if it's above or below 10%, then, nothing gets adjusted. But if it's, over that threshold, then a conversation needs to be had about how much more development work and timing is needed. But yeah, that's why I'm curious to see kind of just how, once these go forward, what are the steps, and contractually, like what do we have to do from that perspective to finally move forward and get the work started and the invoices paid.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe we could bring that up as a question for the platform council tomorrow with Parker and everybody else, and take it from there. But
yeah, no, good things to think about.
Good. Okay. Anybody else? Questions, comments, concerns? If not, we can probably wrap it up here. Just over an hour.
One very quick thing, if I may. I've been voting on Snapshot. Done the first two, Mike's two for the polls. But for some reason it won't let me do the wallet vote. I'll try again later. But if I'm having trouble with this, who do I go and talk to? Because I'm using MetaMask. Who will I find a solution to why I can't vote?
I'd say probably talk to Leo. I think would be the best bet. Try to help us out with that if you're having challenges.
Okay, cool. Cheers.
Unless, Mike, you think it's somebody else, but based on what I've been seeing, I
seems
think
weird. I mean, yeah, you should be able to vote on all three. I wonder if it's just like maybe just reboot Chrome and reconnect your MetaMask wallet and try again.
Yeah, I'll try again later.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, exciting times, gentlemen. We got soon 4 votes to Snapshot. Bing, bang, boom. We'll have them all kind of figured out, and then we can get the rubber hitting the road on a lot of these things, and we start to see how the ecosystem continues to develop and evolve. So exciting times ahead.
Very much.
Yeah,
Cool.
Good stuff. Good night,
All right,
everyone.
I'm assuming everybody is good for 2 weeks, March 19th, same time, 2 p.m. If any objections, just let us know. But all right, sounds good. We'll be chatting in the group chat, and we'll talk live in a couple weeks, boys.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
thanks, buddy. See ya.
Nice.
Yeah, good.
See you guys.
See you guys.